Well, before we get to the prepping and the woo-woo stuff, let's talk about gold and silver. And I know, Patrick, you've had a lot of good conversations recently. Let me share this one. If you have not subscribed over to Stock Pulse, you should be. And it's Patrick was able to sit down with our friend Danny Scheckman about that and talk about gold and silver. He's doing a lot of good conversations, but one of the big topics that I know that he talked about in that video is physical silver and physical gold reserves continue to drop both domestically and in London. So, Patrick, lead us off in this conversation.
Man, my thought is, like, first of all, it was such an honor to be with Andy. He is definitely a legend in this space, and it's great to get his input and get his time. But he's indicating something that we've been seeing all along. The premiums are going to continue to go up. Supply is low. That's why I'm working with Stock Pulse, trying to figure out who's actually creating supply in the North Americas of these precious minerals. And this is something I'm passionate about. Andy is just painting the picture even clearer and undefinitively in his idea. It is just like, guys, there is no way there isn't something happening. There's so much coming off in physical delivery. We've never had this much physical delivery before of these assets, and it's not just in paper anymore. So I don't know. My honest answer to him, which is what I asked him, which is, can you punch a hole in my thought process here of why you wouldn't be running out to get some silver right now? And he basically agreed that I was very smart.
Jesse, what are your thoughts on gold and silver?
That's the part that's a little uncomfortable. There's another YouTuber that I really enjoyed. He's kind of woo-woo, yet wow, he's forgotten more than I know. His channel's Adapt 2030. His name's David Dubin, and he really and I really enjoy him from a prepper's perspective, or just somebody who's prepared minded, because he's always talking about the growing cycles in food and how everything's connected to energy in these different cycles, and how gold and silver are so crucial, and how the United States is a net exporter of gold, and China's basically buying everything that we've sold in numbers along. So, and I went down to buy 2,000 dimes 2 days ago, silver dimes, pre-19.
I literally snapped. I snapped for you. Yeah,
because I pay my kids. I'll give them. We do barters for silver in our home, and this is how I pay my kids. And they're stackers, and they're excited about it, and they really enjoy it. And I think gold and silver. Do you guys all own some silver and gold?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't talk about it.
It's great.
Some. Yeah,
I keep a 100-ounce bar in my back pocket.
I'm curious to see what kind of price you got on those. So if you paid over or under $4,000 for those dimes.
Yeah, it was 42. It was just under 4,200 for 2,000 dimes 2 days ago.
Not bad. 21 times face. That's good.
Yeah, it was right there. And I have a local coin shop that I enjoy going to, and I've priced out everybody else. I bought some through the Ninjas thing. I've talked to Stacy over at Chris Taylor's Financial Prepper. And you know what? The local guy, he's still the best.
That's exactly what I told Andy yesterday on our show. I was like, listen, I love Stacy. She's my broker. Shout out to Stacy. I said, but the reality is, like, I'm a huge Miles Franklin fan, because if you're spending a lot of money, you could trust their reputation. You could trust Andy. But I really enjoy going down to the local shops and just getting down there, seeing what they have, feeling it in my hands, and then saying, yes, I think I would like to have this one. Just because it looks like a Bitcoin, I want it so badly. And then you get to take it home and put it in your safe, and it feels nice and you get great deals there. Really, it's some of the better deals you can find locally. If you know what you're looking for, you can get a good deal. I think right now locally we get dimes for $2 for a dime.
Yeah, that's about what it is. And I was showing you guys before we went on this Morgan dollar that I've got here. Let's see if I can get the date on there. I don't know. It's at 1890 Morgan dollar. And there's something great about it. And I carry it in my pocket, Jeff, and I do it by design. It's not by default. And this coin, I remind myself when I hold it that this went through the Spanish flu. This went through World War I. This went through the explosion of the market in 29 or was it 29 or 28? This went through the Depression. This went through World War II. This piece of money was extremely valuable, and it was probably 50 to 60 to 1 of what it was in the 30s to what it is today. Like to have a dollar like this was a cool piece of it was cool.
Yeah, I think coins are it's a slice of history. It's a physical representation of a past era, and I think you're right. Like, just imagine who could have touched that coin in the last 120 to 130 years. So,
and what it meant last time that we had a big kablooey. It was
So with that said, if you guys are watching our show for the first time and you are on Shielded Prepper's show right now, I just want you to leave a comment and I want you to go to Stock Pulse's channel, find one of my videos, and just type in Shielded Prepper. If you do that, I will pick 3 people and give out some free silver. Pretty simple, guys.
I like that.
Pretty simple. So all you got to do is go to Stock Pulse, follow me at Stock Pulse, type in Shielded Prepper, and I'll send out some silver. It's that simple.
Comment,
Thanks
right?
for
You're
watching,
looking for
guys.
a comment of shielded prepper.
Yep, just comment Shielded Prepper at Shielded Prepper or hashtag Shielded Prepper. Let us know that you saw us on Shielded Prepper's show.
Dylan, you've been sitting quietly through silver and gold. You got any comments on the what is the real old money here?
I think one of the most important things is understanding the importance of when you take self-custody of these real assets, and the importance of being smart with that and being able to defend that and protect those assets. Patrick mentioned something earlier that the only way they're going to get his Bitcoin is if they come to him and get him and inject him with true serum. And that's very similar to how someone will get your silver or your gold. They have to come to you and take it. So I think it's very important from my perspective that you empower yourself and your family and your home to protect those assets or wherever you have them stored. Because if people get desperate, that's what they'll do. They'll come looking. And we've heard stories around the world about people doing this to people that are openly talking about having a lot of crypto or Bitcoin, holding them up, kidnapping them and forcing them to reveal things. So I think that's really important to know about that. But I think that's one of the powerful things about holding these assets as an individual is that it decentralizes them. It makes it so that it's very, very difficult to take these assets from people at scale when they're in the hands of a bunch of individuals versus if they are in a vault or in the hands of some corporation that is holding them for you. That might be better than having your money in the bank. I want to pose this question to you guys. Is it better to have your money in a bank, a large bank, or have gold and silver in a vault that someone else controls, right? What are the comparisons? Which is better? How would you go about that? So I'm curious what you guys would have to say on that. Because I know that's a decision.
Good question, Dylan.
I trust banks the least. So I think that anyone involved in the gold and silver world know their reputation is everything, and they know that that's real money. That's why they don't trust banks. So if those are my 2 choices, I would go with the gold and silver every time.
In the vault?
Yes.
If you had to choose one, is that what you're posing?
Yeah. You say it's $100,000 in Bank of America, or $100,000 at gold and silver in a vault that someone else controls.
I put it in metal and borrow against it. That way that I got both worlds.
A good hole in a nice case in the right spot under the oak tree. I mean, that's a good spot too. I don't know. I couldn't do it, Dylan. I really couldn't. Even if I owned a great mass, and I own a decent amount, yet I don't own a lot. And there's something about having it here and knowing where it's at in the multiple spots that I've got it. I like it. It's like Bitcoin in
Yeah. Patrick?
It's a straight up answer for me. What you're asking is, Patrick, would you like to be stupid and buy gold and silver and keep it in a vault? Or would you be stupider and put it with Bank of America? I'd just rather be a little stupid, and I would keep the gold and silver.
In the vault?
Yeah, because I'm definitely not stupider than the person who I'm not gonna be the guy who put it in the bank. Are you kidding me right now?
Guarantee it,
right now you're gonna put money in the bank? No, I'll trust Bob Coleman. Thank you very much. Shout out to Bob Coleman. He's a good partner of ours, and yeah, I trust Bob Coleman. He can vault my silver and gold totally fine.
Well, just to finish out this gold and silver segment, I want to point out a couple of things, and then we'll move on to other. But back to the dimes. I think the dimes and the quarters are really valuable for a number of reasons. One, this is part of prepping. You got to do the what if game. What if the banks just aren't there? What if you can't go to the ATM and get cash? how are people going to transact? And what are they going to barter with? What are they going to see as real money? Well, if you have dimes, silver dimes that are minted by the U.S. Mint, people know that they're very unlikely to be counterfeit. We know how much silver is in it, and that could be currency right away. So that to me is really a good, valuable, and a great store of wealth, because we don't know if we're going when and where we're going to need cryptos, but we see the future in those. We see the future in silver and gold, and we see the future of having some cash on hand just in case that bank just goes up and we can go get some groceries. But having exposure to all three, again, diversifies your risk. But having the smaller denomination of silver rather than 100, 10 ounce or 100 ounce bar, I think having an ounce or smaller in official denominations helps a lot in preventing and playing that what if game.
It does. Yes, it does. And those fractional pieces, like you said, they are not going to be counterfeiting. It takes too much time and effort. They're going to counterfeit the gold. That's what they're going to counterfeit. And they're going to do whatever games they do. So I know there's ways that you can prep that. And it's so just going back to what David Dubin on Adapt 2030 was saying, was talking about obviously there's the digital shares of gold, and and how those are traded versus physical. Yet he said currently for every 1 ounce of gold that's mined, 9 ounces of silver is mined, or something close to that. Yet the price discrepancy between the two is roughly around 80 to 1 right now. I don't know exactly what it is. Somebody could do some quick math on there.
Yeah, that's about right.
And to know that we're not taking out as much, it doesn't equal. And it's all of how upside down the gold and silver market is right now, specifically silver. And I'm so excited for silver to have its day. It's kind of like Rudy.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say we're in like a 7-year cycle right now. And this 7-year cycle, sound right, Jeff? Something like that?
I love listening to you talk about things I've told you in the past.
Tell me about it. What is he talking about?
Go ahead, Patrick. 7-year cycle.
Well, it has to do back with the Bible, right, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, where it has to do with the year of atonement and the way that the 7-year debt of forgiveness that happened. Yeah. And silver seems to kind of run on a 7-year cycle running up. You saw it in 2018. You saw it in 2022. These are the kind of things that Jeff's talking about.
Yeah, it's a 7-year.
Something like that, right, Jeff?
It's a 7-year Shemitah, or Shemitah, however you pronounce it. Yeah. I don't speak Yiddish. I'm sorry. But that's every 7 years. And if you go back, it's like, okay, 1971, we went off the gold standard. 1978, there was an issue. Then let's see, we had 2008. Then we had, well, you can do the math. 2015, 2022, 2001. We know what happened on September 11th. Go 7 years prior to that, we had another issue. So every 7 years, there seems to be an issue. But and every 50th year there's the year of the Jubilee. So if you line it up right, 50 years ago, starting the calendar from when we went off the gold standard, it kind of lines up to like the Jubilee could be coming. Now, could it be? Yes, but it's interesting. I know that Ninja's talked about this as well.
I'm really impressed that you guys know about that. Most people don't know about the Shemitah and how all of the Jubilee works, and it's historical and it's cyclical and it's absolutely lined up with precision over the years. Yeah,
Jeff's my friend.
Good job, Jeff.
There are so many rabbit holes around my house. It's amazing.
Deep, scary rabbit holes. Take the red pill.
Well, we got one or two prepper things to talk about, and then we'll get into another rabbit hole. So let's go down this first rabbit hole, talking about being prepared for yourself. And one of the things that they've been talking about recently, of all things, it's not gas stoves, but it's air conditioners. And I don't know if you've heard about that recently, but the Biden administration slaps new rules on air conditioners, and they want basically it's another standard, and it says it's going to save American families more money, but it's going to cost the producers like $82 million to implement. So this is from the Epic Times, and it's just another thing that they're putting out there. And this is I think they want to start in 2024, but the new air conditioner rules start in 2026. So it's get them now. So that's the advice there. And what was the other prep? Oh, Dylan, what is this one? You want to share this one? I think we all need a drink after this hour.
Hey, let's Dylan, pass them around here.
2 comments there. I always like to think back to the Confessions of an Economic Hitman when I hear about a government program or new incentive or new feature that you have to have on an old product. It basically is an incentive to spend more money or give some sort of stimulus or tax break to the companies that take the money to implement the change. So when you talk about the air conditioning stuff, I see that as one of those things, like another thing they're using to continue the printing press to justify more expenses.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my view when I see that. And then the next thing, I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but then I can talk about the whiskey.
Patrick, any comments on either one of those stories?
I mean, I don't really have any more to add than what Dylan said, because to me, we see it happening all around us. We know that this is going to continue happening. Like I said, what Robert Kiyosaki keeps saying is deception, betrayal, collusion. I just don't think that any of us are looking around saying, oh, man, this politician really seems to have this stuff together. Like, the one thing I didn't get to say is how when Warren says that she's anti-crypto, Warren, crypto's anti-you. Like, I want her to know that. Like, we don't like you very much either. We love you very little.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love you very little.
Yeah,
more
I'm not
comments?
going to say I hate you, but I will tell her that I love you very little.
Love you
Dylan, I
the
don't think-
minimal amount.
Dylan, I think everybody's waiting to hear more about the whiskey at this point.
So pull that on up. So if you can see in my camera here, so this 10th Mountain, this is one of their little shooters. They're a local distillery, and they're real cool. I came across these guys when I was first getting involved in crypto and running meetup groups in the area. They're very supportive of that educational process, educating people on Bitcoin, crypto, what they are. But they're a local company. They've partnered and paired with the 10th Mountain Division, which is that was just pronounced a national monument up in the mountains near Vail, Colorado this past summer. The president or the resident came out and did an announcement and everything. But they were an elite ski division. And a military unit that trained up here. So a lot of cool stories and cool history there tied in that. And with this company, like, they're local. And you guys can talk more about the benefits of prepping and having alcohol in these small containers. The big thing I want to say first is, when you're thinking about what companies to support and which ones to form connections with, some of these local companies are fantastic to support and form connections with versus the big giant companies and distributors, because you can actually have a relationship with these people. You can understand what they're doing. And these are like real people. These are, small business owners, trying to produce something of value that they believe in. And if things did go crazy, and if, as you guys probably going to talk about, the value of having things like whiskey or alcohol and things like that, if you have a relationship with like Jack Daniels, you may not have that because they're not a small distributor. They might not be local to you. But if you have these guys nearby that you can call up, they're a mile or a couple miles away from your house that you can go to, that's a good relationship to have.
So I have a guy, his name is Travis. He makes TM Mead local. I agree. We got to have these local community resources and alcohol. Dylan, hold that bottle up again. That thing is exactly one of the things that I would put in there. And I think there's actually a scarce item list too that we talk about. But this whole idea of these little bottles are things that you could use to barter, especially if you think about having it with vodka. It could be used to clean wounds. It could be used for a lot of other purposes. So
disinfectants in your mouth, tooth issues, and then you got to shoot it. It makes you sleep good.
It doesn't give you bad breath, but it gives you whiskey breath, which is better than bad breath. I mean, there's lots of things that I would suggest. Maybe storing a few. One idea that I've had, you guys know I like to talk when we talk prepping stuff. One idea, Dylan, is that little bottle. You get a 5-gallon bucket and fill them up with a few bottles. Those are types of things that last a long time. And in an environment where silver is worth a lot, I'd venture to say that your friends are going to be rolling in the gold and silver at those times. But make sure to have a local resource for the things that you need.
Or learn how to make it.
Like I said, I have a friend of mine. He's gonna supply me with every drop of mead that I will need.
Yeah, every drop of mead I will need. Tagline. When we think about, and I just shared this with Jeff. Something we took over on the Shielded Prepper channel. This was a document, and it was actually touched on the economic ninja had mentioned a prophet that had many of his prophetic decrees that had gone out years ago have all come to pass. Well, on his site, I went on there and I was looking at some of the other things, and he had this link on the left side called Joseph's Pantry. And it had this scarce items list, and we did it through our channel. We did it in our home, and there's 4 categories in here about energy, about food, about water, and about real needs. And having all the Bitcoin and all the gold and silver first is the wrong thing.
That's correct.
Noah,
correct.
the very first thing Noah did when that ark landed was to plant a vineyard. He planted his fields first, and he loved wine. If you want to read about Noah, Noah was a wine drinker. And that was the first thing he did. Then he built his home. Scripture talks about that. Plant your fields, then establish your dwelling. So if you don't have an established provision as insurance, you can have all the wealth in the world, and it is not applicable. Yet you must have insurance. And this scarce items list, just for what it's worth, guys, if you haven't even gone through this, is really cool and kind of eye-opening. And the average person eats 4 to 8 pounds of food a day. Do the math on that.
Yeah, Jeff, maybe you can put a link to his videos, because I actually did watch him as he went through them one day at a time. I was able to, for some of us, it's not as much as preparing again, but just checking off that list again, making sure that there isn't something that you didn't think about. For example, when I was going through my list with you, solar wasn't a big deal on my list. Now I'm considering maybe that's one thing I add to my list. So for you guys, I just want to remember, take a second. If you're watching this show and it hasn't changed anything you thought about or anything that you do after you're done watching, then I think we've missed the point. The idea is today, after you're done, we've encouraged you to think more together with your community. What are you going to do today to prepare for tomorrow? Right? I love that it's called Joseph's Pantry, because as an Egyptian, I relate a lot to the story of Joseph from Egypt. It's like, you know what he did? He told the Pharaoh, we need to prepare for what's coming. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you guys here is we need to prepare as a community. And you may not be a guy who's good with his hands. God knows I'm not. I don't like doing things with my hands. I don't even know how to use a hammer on the right side to hit the nail. But what I do know is my family's going to need food. So I partner with people who are going to raise chickens and garden over here, over there. I don't have one garden. I have 17 gardens in my community that I support, that I can help with, because I know I'm not a gardener, but as a community, many hands can make light work. So think about what you're skilled at, what gifts you have, how you can bless your community members, and start working together on what does it look like. Should something need to happen and we need to prepare? Who's got the resources? Who can we lean on? Who in our community knows how to raise cattle? Who knows how to raise chicken? Who knows how to clean whatever? Like, I don't know everything, but many hands make light work.